Now, I'm going to talk on how to execute models. So sometimes you write a code and you would like to run that code using you give it to other people so that these people can run it. So in this case, we have a very famous way to run code is by going to the control command of your computer, or in the shell if you use another operating system such as MacBook. Then you can write Python if it exists in the system environment values. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So you have to add this to your system so that it can recognize Python as an environment variable. And then you can give it the path of your file, such as name.py, and then the arguments that you usually or you want to give to that file. If there are no arguments, then you don't need to give it any arguments, but if there are, then you have to specify them after that. But for that, you have to include a name.main, as you can see here, part to it, so that the computer will understand that this file can be run anywhere if the Python environment exists. Now you can just double click on your Python file if you have the Python environment in your computer, and don't forget that the computer is very fast, so we will need some kind of a function or something to slow it down so that we can see what happened to that code. So here we have an example, example 12. So as you can see here, it imports time, another library that is very famous as well. It helps us count the time or use the time in our code, or even like, for example, what I usually use it with is time my algorithm and tell me like how long it took to run this algorithm. But in this case, we're using it for something else. So here we're taking x equal end, which is integer, a built-in function, and then we have another built-in function called input, which is a very nice function to ask users for something. And here we're saying that we're printing, before we ask the user, we're printing that enter any integer. After that, it will ask the user to input something in with the keyboard, and then it will take that string and then return it. The thing about this function, it always returns a string. So even if you write a number, it is still considered as a string. So you have to use int here as an to change it to integer if you want to use it as integer. In this case, we want to use it as integer. So let's see. So next, we have a loop that loops over I in range x, which means that the number given here, it will loop over that number from 0 to that number. So, and then we print I, and then time.sleep 1. This little line here means that we are sleeping, we're making the computer sleep for 1 second. So let me show you this example. So if we have, as you can see here, we have the example folder, and then we go to file number 12, and then we double click on it. As here you can see here, it is asking me for a number. Now I write 15, and let's see what happens, or 10 to make it faster. So as you can see here, it is printing a number, sleeping for 1 second, and then printing the next number. So that is why I added that time.sleep. Now if I don't include that line here, then you know what will happen? Well, basically it will print so fast that you will not be able to see anything, and I will close this again. So that is why I included time.sleep, so that you can interact with it. Now the module search path. There are 3 paths that you can find here. Here they are described here: sys.path, Python path, and then default path. These are the only 3 paths that a module can exist at. So basically, if you have a directory, which is your directory, you can import anything from that directory if you add a file to it, which is called I believe, I forgot what that file is, but I could